How often do you find yourself just super busy, stressed out, feeling like there's absolutely no time to kind of take a moment, take a break for mindfulness, to kind of get your thoughts together, to even be able to have time to even think about thinking,
Hey
right?
everyone, this is Aaron and Juwon, and you're listening to Wellness for Real People. This show is for people who are on the go, busy, and looking for ways to live their best lives. We focus on wellness topics in mindfulness, exercise, diet, and sleep, and share quick, actionable tactics to improve your health and wellness. We're not perfect, but we're trying to get a little better each day. Let's grow on this journey together.
Right. Well, today we're going to talk about three very simple and practical actions that you could take to find a little bit more calm, a little bit more peace in the midst of all of the chaos that we may be dealing with on a day to day basis. My name's Juwan, back with another episode of Wellness for Real People, here with my co host, Aaron. And today we're talking about mindfulness, something that I can use a lot more of every single day.
Yep.
We got an article from Harvard Health. It's called Evoking Calm, Practicing Mindfulness in Daily Life Helps. And I really like this article because it mentions three very different but powerful ways that we can incorporate some mindfulness practices into our daily life that are a little bit different, and so one of them may work better than another for you. But that's one of the things I like about this show, and what we try to do is just give you a buffet of ideas, and you take from them what works best for you. And so let's just kind of dive into it and talk about some of these mindfulness options that can potentially help you with a concentration, a distraction, and everyday stress. Aaron, as you were reading through the article, what are some of the key things that kind of stuck out to you, or big takeaways that you found helpful?
Yeah, I think the biggest one is something we talk about a lot in this show is doing things in small increments, trying to make small changes, not trying to change the world or go all in on something. And saying this article is really calling out the fact that it doesn't take much time to do these things. And it's saying that literally everyone has at least 10 minutes to try to do some things to kind of get into this mindfulness practice. And I
Mm-hmm.
know we get into these moments where we're just overwhelmed and things are going on, but there's at some point in your whole day that you have, and maybe you're active for 12 hours working, whatever that looks like, maybe 10 minutes out of that day to try some of these exercises just to see if there's some changes that start happening, if you start feeling a little bit better. So I thought that was really cool to see that this article kind of leans into what we already talk about, and gives us some practical things to start with. And I know you do this one. Maybe you can talk about a little bit more as like kind of that meditation is the first way to kind of get things going.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of misconceptions about meditation. I
Mm-hmm.
think sometimes it can be very intimidating, or sometimes maybe not as approachable as some other ideas or tactics or topics. And so I really like what the author shared in this particular article around just some simple ways to think about meditation and to begin practicing mindfulness through meditation. So I'll read through them directly, just so I give it to you straight. But I think this is a good kind of simple starting place for if you're thinking about how do I actually do this kind of meditation thing. He says, sit on a straight back chair or cross-legged on the floor. Focus on one aspect of your breathing, such as the sensations of air flowing into your nostrils and out of your mouth, or maybe you're focusing on your belly rising and falling as you inhale and exhale. And once you've narrowed your concentration this way, try to begin widening your focus. So become more aware of the sounds and sensations and ideas. And this is the key thing. People often tell me, I can't stop myself. I can't stop my brain from thinking. I can't shut off my brain. And what I've learned and everything I've read about meditation and practicing is that that's really not the point of it, right? The point of it is just be aware of what's happening, notice it, and don't get caught up in it, right? And so I really like this idea of embrace and consider each of these things without judgment, without labeling it. Oh, that's bad. I had this thought, or I'm feeling this kinds of thing. It's just more so, oh, okay, that's happening. Like you're watching a car pass. You're sitting on your porch watching a car pass on the street in front of you, right? You don't just follow the car down the street, You just kind of, you're just watching it as it goes, and those are kind of what your thoughts are doing, and these sensations, and what we're doing in meditation, and just being aware of what's happening without trying to without judging it as best as we can. And when we notice we get into that mindset or state where we start judging and going down those rabbit holes, well, then we that's where the mindfulness comes in. It's bring us back to being present and focus back on the breathing, or your breath, or your belly rising and falling, to kind of get you recentered, um, and expanding your awareness again. So it's kind of this exercise of just continuing to do that. And when you find yourself kind of getting off track, bring yourself back, return your focus to your breathing, expand your awareness again, and take as much time as you need. It could be 1 minute, just if you're really, really busy before you're going into your next thing, or 5 minutes, or even 10 minutes, whatever you're comfortable with. But the experts in meditation often note that the practice becomes most helpful when you commit to a regular schedule. You can kind of get into a better rhythm and a groove with it. So I hope that was a helpful kind of starting point on meditation. Aaron, if you can kind of talk us through this idea of like open awareness, and what does that mean, and how do we actually practice that as a tool for mindfulness?
Yeah, I think this leans into kind of what you were saying just about awareness and like when you're in the moment. And this is also taking it a step further. So even when you're in your daily activities and in your moments where you're just doing things like eating or taking a walk or showering or cooking a meal or whatever that looks like, trying to bring more attention to the sensations in your body, physical and emotional. And again, practicing the same kind of things you're already doing in that meditative state where you're really intentional in that meditative state, but then also in this state is in your kind of day-to-day actions, being aware of what's happening. So again, having those breathing exercises. Maybe you're taking a walk and you're just doing a breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth, and letting your abdomen expand, and then slowly breathing out in your mouth. Carrying on the task at hand slowly and deliberately, not trying to rush through it and just get like, oh, I gotta get to the next thing, I got to the next thing, and just like going crazy. But try single tasking, just bringing your attention fully to whatever you're doing in that moment, and kind of trying to really bring any thoughts and emotions and all the things going around to whatever's happening around you and not outside. It's very hard to do. It takes a lot of practice. But if you're, like I said, if you're on that walk, noticing the traffic, the clouds, the grass, or whatever, just whatever's happening in the moment, and not thinking about the 10 things you got to answer when you get back to your desk, or whatever that looks like for you. If your mind wanders away, try to gently refocus your attention back to the situation in the moment. And that takes a lot of practice. Like, it's hard for me to do, and I'm still working on it, but it is something that I've noticed once I'm doing it, I feel so much better about what's going on in my day. So that's kind of like the open awareness state. And then I'll let you kind of close out with body awareness on this one, Juwon.
Yeah, no, I thought you brought up some great examples on the open awareness, and I would, just piggyback on that and say, one book that I find really, really helpful in my journey around this mindfulness and open awareness is the book The Power of Now. And I think you brought that up, right, as you were talking about this idea of just focusing on what you're doing right now in the moment, as opposed to all the other things that you could be worrying about or stressing about, and how powerful that is, because really life is just a series of moments. It's a series of
Yep.
nows, right?
Yes.
And we can have a great life if we can really just take advantage of the moment that we're in, the season that we're in, right? And make the most of it, really enjoy it, appreciate it. Then life becomes much more rich and beautiful and meaningful, and to your point, hopefully a little less stressful, because it's more manageable than when you can just focus on what's right in front of you at this particular moment. Like you said, it's not easy, it's not automatic. It takes practice, it takes work. But at any moment in time, we can, if we can remember to be mindful, we can bring ourselves back to
Yeah.
to the present moment, and kind of try to stop that that spiral that we get into sometimes. And that's what mindfulness is really all about. So to kind of close it out, the third mindfulness practice that the author mentioned was body awareness. And so some people are much more inclined to like think about just be in their head and think mentally, which is kind of how I am. But maybe you're more kinesthetic, and you respond better to more like sensation in the body and movement and these kind of things. So that's why I think body awareness can be a very powerful tool as well. And that's about focusing your attention um um you know uh towards the following. So think about sensations, notice subtle feelings like an itch or tingling, again, without judgment. but just be aware of what you're feeling in your body and let those feelings pass. Notice your body in succession from head to toe. Um, you may think about the sights and sounds that are around you all the time. Like you mentioned, a car passing by, or a barking dog, or birds chirping, right? Things that are always going on around us. We just maybe we're so busy in our heads, we're not really noticing those kinds of things. So name them, right? Think about sight, sound, smell, touch, taste, without judgment, but just kind of be aware of them and let them go. Think about, any emotions, strong emotions that you're feeling, and sometimes where you feel those things, sometimes in your head or in your chest or,
Mhm.
In your stomach, right? I had like, I must always say things like I had a gut feeling about that, or, it
Yeah.
made me sick to my stomach, right? That's that body awareness piece that we, sometimes we're not always conscious of it, but it's a real thing. And so they say allow these emotions to be present without judging them. Practice a steady and relaxed naming of the emotions you're feeling. So this is, oh, I'm feeling joy, or I'm feeling anger, or I'm feeling frustration. I can talk about that personally, and my work, at my job, right? Like I've been feeling a little bit of resentment around some of the things that have happened, and it took me a little bit of while to recognize what it was and how it was manifesting, and how I was approaching my work. But it made me feel a lot better when I could actually notice it and name it, and then be like, okay, well, why am I feeling this way, and what
Mhm.
can I actually do about this, in the short term and the long term, so that that I can resolve this. But just being aware of these emotions that we're feeling, I think is the first step. Is that awareness is that first and very powerful step. And then that this last piece was huge. Think about the urges that come up, right? And rather than being controlled by them or driven by them, just be aware of them and notice them. So when you feel a craving or an urge, like, I don't know, I want a craving for, like, I don't know, tacos or something, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
exactly. Like, yeah, you're stressed out. Like, oh, I need to eat something.
right.
Yeah.
I don't think tacos are bad or anything, but yeah, like your cravings, like I get, like you mentioned, stress eating. So like if I'm always one of my things is I'm big a snacker. I'm big on snacking and junk food and chips and these kinds of things. And it's like I've had to really, really, really work on that. When those urges come, being aware of them and not getting consumed by them. Because I can go through a bag of chips like it's nothing, real
Oh
quick and
yeah, like
easy,
you get the right chip
before I even notice it.
today.
Yeah, and so it's like, I thought this was really, really powerful. Um, uh, uh, Thing to be aware of. So just acknowledge the desire and understand that it will pass. Notice how your body feels as the craving, enters or arises, and replace that wish for the craving to go away with just the specific knowledge that this too shall pass. Right? I thought that's really, really powerful. And I think the more mindful we can be, the more we can notice it and not, always be so reactive to these things, but more so just be aware of it, and take appropriate action when we want to, not necessarily because we feel compelled to, kind of subconsciously. So any thoughts from that body awareness piece, or anything that you wanted to kind of share with the audience, to close us out?
Yeah, man, I think we hit it on the head. These things are just really good practices. It's just one part of the many things that we have to consider for mindfulness. And it's just, that's what we do. We're just trying to practice small things along the way. And so we gave you some easy tips here, but there's just so much more that goes into it. And we're going to keep trying to bring that to you as much as we can. But we also always encourage you to do your research, do your, any kind of like outside work, whatever that looks like. If you got a healthcare team or anybody you want to consult with, definitely do that work. But it's something that's very worthy, and it's not easy, but it's going to make your life so much better.
Great. Well, thank you again for joining us for another episode of Wellness for Real People. We will be back soon with another episode, but in the meantime, I hope you take care, and see you soon.
Thanks, everybody.